up, you guys? Welcome back to Leah's Vlog. I am so glad you have tuned into my channel. So if you're new, I want to introduce myself. My name is Leah. I am an orthopedic nurse and I hold a bachelor's degree in nursing. And I have been a nurse for almost a year now. In July 8th, it will be a year that I have been a nurse, and I'm so excited. And I have found, just to be very transparent, that nursing school, which is a little bit difficult, is so much knowledge that you have to acquire, and you need resources to help you along the journey. And I found that even being a nurse, there's still so much that you have to learn. So I created this YouTube page for nursing students, for new nurses, just to help us through this journey. I want to help you through this journey. I want to be that resource. I want to share the good, the bad, the ugly, all of my highs, my lows with you, so that I can, again, help you in this journey and we can go through this together. So today's video, I want to talk about some tips that have helped me survive as a new nurse. I'm just to be, again, just transparent. I went through nursing school and my goal was to graduate. And I envision myself being a new nurse and I'm like, yes, I get to breathe. I can just go to work and don't have to think about anything. Wrong. That is not true. Passing the NCLEX is so important. It is, but I have found that after passing the NCLEX, you have to basically every day go and administer care to individuals, and their care is in your hands. And so you have to be the most knowledgeable nurse that you can. And in nursing, if you did not know, you're always learning. Specifically now we're in a pandemic and things are changing. Some of the things that I used to do every day are now changing. And so it's an ever learning field of study. And so to be a knowledgeable and the best nurse you can be to your patients, you have to always be in an atmosphere or a space or headspace where you're wanting to absorb new information, because again, things are always changing. So again, I just want to be that resource, and I want to share with you my experience. So this video is all about some of the tips that I have personally used to help me survive my first year of nursing. So stay tuned. So tip number one is to basically ask questions. When you don't know something, when you are unsure of a skill, always ask questions. So I found that after 8 weeks of being with my preceptor, on my very first shift alone, and within the first 30 minutes alone, I found that I had a question, and I was like contemplating whether I should ask the question. And I envisioned myself going in and I'm like, no, I do not want to go in there and halfway do something and not be knowledgeable. I wanted to be knowledgeable. So I found the most experienced nurse, and I asked him the question. And from that, I've always adopted that mentality that no matter what, I don't care how long I will be a nurse or how long I've been a nurse. If I don't know the question to something, I'm going to ask questions. And I've also made it a priority to also get to know my nursing educator. Within each of our units in the hospital, we have a nursing educator who is specifically designed and trained to educate all nurses and all medical professionals on our unit, specifically nurses and CNAs, on things that are changing and things that need to be things that you need to abide by in order to make sure you're abiding by policy. And I have her email. She's actually saved under my favorites. And whenever I have a question or I need training on something, I just reach out to her and ask where I can find the resources to basically be a more knowledgeable nurse. So that is tip number one, to always ask questions. Do not feel that you are dumb because you're asking a question. There are a lot of times I have found, even when I ask the question to a most experienced nurse, they say, hold on a second, because I need to go find out. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm the only one who didn't know the answer to this question. So a lot of times, even if you're asking an experienced nurse, they don't always know. Nurses, we don't always know the answer to questions, and that's why we have resources and other people to reach out to in order to find the answer. So ask questions. All right, so tip number two is to find a mentor. So I know a lot of people are going to be like, how do I do that? So I'm going to be very honest. When I started on my floor, the very first day that I actually went to basically just walk around the hospital, the first time I went to my unit, there was a nurse that I saw, and she was in the midst of administering medication or getting them from the fixes. And the way she was talking to the individuals, or I could hear her even talking on the phone, maybe to a doctor. I was like, oh my gosh, when I become a nurse and after a couple of years, I want to find myself having that same confidence. And it's very funny that she is actually my mentor. Like, I reached out to her and I asked her, basically told her, I said, look, I love the way you work. I admire your work ethic. And so her number is saved to my favorites. And so whenever I have a question, I ask her, and it's just a great resource to have. And I love the fact that she also used to work on my floor. So all the things that I'm learning now, she's already learned, and she's great. She's down to earth. And she basically is my resource. So again, find a mentor, find someone who you admire, someone whose work ethic you admire, and reach out to them, and don't just say, hey, I want to be your mentor, but just say, I want to form a relationship with you. There's some things I want to glean from, and it will help you in the long run. It truly, 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 truly will. Tip number three is to form relationships with other nurses. So specifically me, I have made it a priority on my unit to basically form relationships with new grads. There are about 3 or 4 other new grads on my floor, and I just find myself just being very friendly. First I would just say hi, and I found through time that, we kind of formed a little group, and we actually have like a little chat within our iPhones. We all have iPhones, and so whenever we want to vent or anything like that, we basically text each other. And I have found that it has been so helpful and so therapeutic for me, because a lot of times I have a husband, and I go home and I tell him a lot of things that I'm dealing with. But I realize as a nurse, if you're talking to someone or wanting to vent to someone who's not a nurse, it's kind of hard because you have to explain everything and then they don't really get it. So I have found that having a relationship with other colleagues who are nurses, and specifically for me as a new grad, has been like great. It's been awesome. It's like a place where I can go and just vent on things. And even sometimes when I'm venting, I'm learning from them, because they've either experienced it or they can help me basically handle the situation in a different way if it's difficult or whatever. But it pays to have relationships with people who are other nurses, and specifically if you're a new grad who's on your unit, or if they're not on your unit, basically someone in your hospital, because it will help you along. All right, so tip number four is to basically relax. I work 3 days out of the week, and I have 4 days off. But I have found that a lot of times on my 3 days that I'm working, or if I had a difficult shift, man, I am like physically and mentally drained. And not only am I a nurse, but I'm a mom and I'm a wife, so I come home and I have a lot of other roles. But I found that a lot of times that I purposely allot time where I am just watching my favorite movie or go get my nails done, but I relax because I want to make sure that when I come back, even if I do have another difficult shift, that I'm refreshed and I can be the best nurse that I can be. So fine, during your days off, if you're a nursing student, you do have days off from clinicals and you had a difficult clinical prior before, this applies to you as well. Just take that time to refresh and relax yourself. Take a nice bath, whatever you have to do to relax, okay? So that's very important. That's tip number 4. Tip number 5, I wrote this all down again, so bear with me, is to remember your why. Again, I'm going to be very honest. There are days where I have really bad days on my job. I am pushed and pulled so many different ways, and I have to be so many different things to my patients, not only just a nurse and minister in care, but there's so many different personalities I have to deal with, so you're trained. But I know that for me, what has helped me focus and to get through some of those difficult days and rough days is to remember your why. And so for me specifically, my why is that I became a nurse because I know that I am the happiest or the best Leah when I am taking care of others, and God has allowed me to just live a blessed life. So I want to just be able to provide some kind of comfort and care to others who are in need, and that is simply that. Last but not least, the last tip that I have is to create a nursing handbook, or just a book where you record all of your mistakes or the things that you have learned. And what I entitled my book is called The Nursing Bible. It's just my handbook that has highlighted some of the mistakes that I have made. And so basically I have learned the correct way to do it, and I wrote it down. So basically I have this book. It's a line notebook, and it's alphabetized basically. And so each thing that I learned, so for instance, I give a lot of blood. And when I first started, I was so nervous giving blood. So under B, I actually put in just a little note on things, how I should run the blood, some common side effects, some things that I should do after I give the blood. And so basically this is like my go-to book, and it's called my Nursing Bible. I carry it with me all the time. And in my next video, I'm going to show you specifically how I made it and why I love it so again, these are 6 tips that have helped me survive as a new nurse, and I am with you through this journey. I'm your resource. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me a comment. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you again. All right, bye.